Meaning, as an ummah, we might suffer heavy casualties. You know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he mentioned that we would be like a meal on a table and the people gathering to feast upon us. سألت ربي عز وجل ثلاث. I asked Allah for three things. فأعطاني اثنتين. Allah gave me two things and He prevented me, منعني واحدة. He prevented me from one of those things. And the first thing the Prophet ﷺ said, سألت ربي أن لا يهلكنا بما أهلك به الأمم. I asked Allah that He would not destroy us whole in an entire fashion the way that previous nations were destroyed. Whether that is through a disease, through some sort of natural disaster, but the point is that this is an act of God. When something happens that's outside of a people, but some sort of disaster comes and it wipes out an entire ummah, as we read about some of those nations that were wiped out before. So I asked Allah that my ummah would not be wiped out in similar fashion. The second thing the Prophet ﷺ asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَلَّا يُظْهِرَ عَلَيْنَا عَدُوٌ مِنْ غَيْرِنَا, that He does not allow an external enemy to wipe us out. Meaning, as an ummah, we might suffer heavy casualties. You know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he mentioned that we would be like a meal on a table and the people gathering to feast upon us. That's the example of us and the other nations. But at no point will this ummah be wiped out entirely by an external enemy. So he said that Allah granted me that. And then I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَلَّا يَجْعَلَ بَأْسُنَا أَوْ بَأْسَهُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ, that Allah does not cause the misfortune of this ummah to be due to some sort of division on the inside. Meaning Allah does not cause us to be disunited, or that Allah unites our hearts. And Allah did not grant the Prophet ﷺ that request. The reason is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of the external circumstances. But إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيْرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيْرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. This is one manifestation of Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change the condition of themselves. You cannot expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He has protected us from everything on the outside, given us everything to succeed on the inside, to not at least give us the responsibility to not become divided amongst ourselves, and in the process, tafshalu, you would fail, you would lose your momentum, you would lose any of your momentum forward as an ummah, as a nation. So the first part of this hadith is of course the important one, that at no point, we know that at no point this ummah will be wiped out entirely by any sort of disease, by any sort of natural disaster, that we will suffer earthquakes, will suffer diseases, but the ummah will survive, at least to some extent, anything that would happen in the world. However, with that knowledge, the Prophet ﷺ was the person, إِذَا اشْتَدَّتِ الرِّيحِ, if the wind just blew a little bit hard, or if there was a long period where there was no rain, or there was a lot of rain. But the point is that the slightest change in weather, the slightest change in circumstance, the Prophet ﷺ would be driven to what? He'd be driven to salah. He'd be driven to prayer. He'd be driven to dua. He'd be driven to supplication. And so we learned so many of the du'as of the Prophet ﷺ for things that other Sahaba thought were minor and insignificant. Now, if something traumatic was about to happen to the Ummah, the Prophet ﷺ would have been the first to gain that knowledge. But the Prophet ﷺ was showing the Ummah by example how to react. Anything happened, a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, the Prophet ﷺ did not say that bad things are going to happen now because of the eclipse. But it's a sign of Allah's complete control over this world. And this is something that is actually extremely important. It's a gem that I feel like we usually lose when we talk about khusuf and kusuf, when we talk about the eclipse. The Prophet ﷺ was not responding to some mythology that, oh no, something bad is going to happen. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ash-shams wal-qamar ayatan min ayatillah." The sun and the moon are two signs of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing happens to them because of the death of anyone or because of the birth of anyone. So the Prophet ﷺ was shedding those types of things. But what is the spiritual lesson of that? It is to show that even if you are to control everything within your power, you're the healthiest person alive, you eat right, you protect yourself, you wear the things that you need to wear, you have a strong army, you have the best shelter, you're fortified in terms of your immune system, fortified in terms of your health, fortified in terms of your army, Even if all of that is true, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still in complete control, and you are so vulnerable. Look at the tornado, subhanAllah. I think something significant is happening tonight. I'm not sure what it is. It's a halaqah. But in seriousness, I mean, subhanAllah, this tornado that ripped through Tennessee and over 25 people killed last night. It's not really anywhere, it's buried in the headlines, which is usually the case with international news stories. But 25 people, I mean, who would think, right? But these are the things that we're supposed to learn. Your complete vulnerability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times, right? Where you think you have it all figured out, and Allah reminds you, you actually have nothing figured out. That you are vulnerable to an insect bite, you're vulnerable to some weather change, you're vulnerable to a sudden health tragedy or crisis, that you don't have the antibiotic for everything, you don't have the vaccination for everything. No matter how advanced you get, you're still vulnerable. No matter how powerful you are, you're still vulnerable. So these things are meant to show us, demonstrate our vulnerability, and in the process of becoming more aware of our own vulnerability, draw us back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way the Prophet ﷺ was drawn back to Allah with any of these things.